During this video, we're going to explore a quick and easy way to use Clara and Mixamo to rig a character for scene design. I hope you enjoy it. From your home page, we're going to go to the top of the home page and we're going to click Library. The 3D model library will populate, and as you scroll down through here, you can see that there's over 250,000 models for you to use in your scenes. And the type of model we're going to choose is a model of a character in a T-pose, like this Sonic model, or one of these standard models here. Make sure that your model is in a T-pose. A T-pose is basically with the arms outstretched and the body straight up and down. This example, this girl brunette, wouldn't work very well for this rig concept, since the auto rigger is looking for things like markers like wrists and elbows, and if, let's say, this hand is touching her leg, that would get rigged, and it would mess up the rig, and the mesh would be all distorted. So go ahead and go through a few pages and try to find a T-pose character that looks interesting to you, that you could build some type of a storyline behind, perhaps, as you build your scene. In this tutorial, we're just going to take a look at this concept of auto rigging and bringing it into Clara, the character into Clara. Take a look at some of the other videos if you want to go a little bit further with this concept and constructing the actual scene. I'm going to go ahead and grab this low poly untitled character here, and I'll go ahead and double click it, and it will show up here in our viewer. So I can see what the model looks like. I can go ahead and rotate it in space and check it out to make sure that it's A, in a T-pose, and B, the whole model's there, the mesh is there, and I can use that to rig. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and download this, and depending on the device that you're using, if you're in a Chromebook, you'll have to go into your downloads to upload it, or we can go ahead and download to the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and download it as an FBX file. It's a motion file, and it will have the mesh and the materials along with it. So I'll go ahead and hit download. I'll go ahead and drag that zip file to my desktop, double click it to expand it, and then I can go ahead and source this FBX file here that's listed as untitled scene when we get into Mixamo. So let's go ahead and jump into Mixamo. We'll pull up a new tab and go to the Mixamo website. And in previous tutorials, I talked about signing up for this. This is a free resource for you to use these animations, these FBX files that are here, different motion files, and there are a bunch of characters here that we can use as well. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and take the character that we chose from Clara, and we're going to go ahead and rig that. We're going to attach that to one of these motion files that we choose, and we'll put that down into Clara as an upload, and I'll show you how you can use it to set up its own scene. So let's go ahead and click this button over here, Upload Character, and then you can either navigate to your file by hitting Select Character File, or you can just drag it directly into this little area here, and it will load for you. So this little pane that showed up here in my viewport is the auto rigger, and you can navigate through this by using these little directional arrows here. But in this case, as it loads, we want this character to be in a T-pose and be frontal facing for us. So I'm going to go ahead and click this next button, and then let's take a look at the auto rigger and how it's set up. So over here on the left hand side are some markers, and they're listed as chin, wrist, elbows, knees, and groin, and we're just going to move these directly over the area that's defined as, in this case, the chin. So I'm going to go ahead and place it over the chin and let go, and there are little informational step-by-steps over here that can explain it as well. But one aspect that you may or may not want to use is this use symmetry. Now this model, this low poly model, is very symmetrical. The left and the right are the same, But if there are differences in the left and right side of your model, say one arm's down a little bit or there's a wing hanging off one side, depending on the character that you chose, you may want to uncheck this use symmetry so that you can just drag these independently. So if I drag this left side of the wrist to the wrist and then the right wrist over here, I can do that independently. Or if I use symmetry, as I drag one of these, it's going to bring the other one up with it. So this is the elbows. I'll go ahead and hover over where the elbows are and be as exact as you possibly can, because what this is going to do is it's going to set up motion files, and they're created through bones, which the geometry we shouldn't see when we download it. But it's going to basically put a bone right in here for the upper part or the lower part of its arm, and then it's going to have a bone attached to a shoulder, so on and so forth. So it's important that you put these markers in their defined places. So I'll go ahead and put the knees here, and that's where the legs will bend, and then the groin is the center mass. So make sure that you place it in the correct spot as well. I'll go ahead and click next, and then be patient. This says it takes about 2 minutes to auto rig. If we were to do this manually in Clara or another application, this can be pretty time consuming to set up a rig. And in that 2 minutes or so, Mixamo went ahead and auto rigged the character. If everything looks good to you, you can go and go ahead and click next, and we can go ahead and assign an animation to it. If things look off, like that chin probably could have been moved up a little bit because there's some sag underneath here, it looks like a low poly mesh, we could go back and adjust that. But in this case, I'll just go ahead and click next, and we'll assign an animation to it. So here is my character. It's rigged, and I can go in and I can click animations and select one of these animations and use it for my scene. In this case, let's go ahead and select. I'll just select this defeated animation. I'm going to click it, and it will auto rig, and I can see my character taking on that motion. I can bump the energy up, which is going to make it move a little bit faster for this animation. The arm height, I can bump that up or down. The overdrive is, I guess, the overall animation, how fast we get through it. Then there's an arm spacing thing here, and each one of these animations are going to have some different parameters over here that you can adjust. We can even click this little box here to mirror the animation. And notice that the animation is 202 frames, and Clara by default is going to give you 200 frames. So let's go ahead and say that we have this action that we want to use, and we're all set and ready to download it and then upload it into Clara. So I just go up here and I click download, but we can bring it in as either an FBX file or a Collada file. In this case, I'll just keep it FBX, click download, and then I can use that in Clara. So let's go ahead and click out on Mixamo, go back to Clara, and set up our scene. So we're going to go back to Your Documents. We're going to click Create New Scene. And in this case, we're going to create an empty scene. Click Create. And let's go ahead and load our character into the viewport here. So there's a couple of ways to do this. If you're on a Mac or a PC and you have if it's draggable, you can drag it directly over top of the viewport to download it or upload it. Or we could go to File, and we can go to Import Files, and we can either drag it into this little area here in this plane, or we can click Choose Files, and I'll go ahead and just choose this from the desktop. There's a progress bar down here in the lower left hand side of your viewport to tell you basically when it gets uploaded. So be patient with it. Depending on your bandwidth and how you're working, it may take a little while. Now, when I imported this, you can see that some of the file pieces look a little bit weird. There's stuff attached to my model. So let me go ahead and collapse objects, and let's take a look at this and how it's going to be used. So underneath my objects in my Explorer panel, is the hierarchy of this model. So if I go ahead and expand it, you can see that the Trump model here is attached to a null. The actual model is here, and then there are all these files, these FBX file bones, and I can turn those off by just basically clicking these little eyeballs over here with this rig. So if you import your model and you see those, just click that eyeball, and if it doesn't turn off, go ahead and click Clara again and then reset the scene. You can just reselect the scene, and when you come back to it, it should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this rig here. Obviously, there's a lot of components to it. These are all those bones files. And then I can make some adjustments to the model itself. I'm going to go ahead and click this null here, and with your move tool selected, we can move this thing around in space. We can go in and change the size of it by clicking scale and then dragging these little handles. And then if we wanted to clone it or bring another one in, we can do that. So you can have multiple characters in your scene. One thing that I want to do before we go any further with this is go ahead and hit play, and let's go ahead and take a look at its action, just to make sure that everything looks good to us. And then we can hold Command on our keyboard and kind of pan around to see if everything got brought in, and it looks pretty decent. Now at this point, you can go ahead and set up your scene. You can add lighting up here if you want. Bring in some primitives. If you wanted to go down and steal some lighting down here from the material library, I'll go ahead and click that for diffuser to light it. We can do that, but the possibilities are pretty much endless with what you do with these models. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of how to choose a model in Clara, upload it into Mixamo, rig it, download it, and then upload it back into Clara to be used as an animation file. Another thing that we can do is add those assets to a previous scene that we've designed. So in this case, this is from the last tutorial, the sloppy example that I put together. Let's go ahead and load this new model directly into that scene, and we'll take a look and see how that looks. So I just pan out a little bit, drag the file in, and notice when it loaded, you can still see the rig itself. So we'll go ahead and turn this eyeball off to remove it, and go ahead and move him into space in our previous scene. And those assets become part of this animation now. Check a rendered view of it. And remember, in this viewer there are navigation tools, so we can navigate to a point of interest, and that can become our final animation.